and welcome to my painting class. This is Joe Socci. I'll be your instructor today, and we are going to do a garden shed, and it'll be this particular painting right here. We're going to go step by step, and soon I'll give you a material list that you need, and we'll start on the painting right away. Okay, then, see you soon. And as promised, let me give you the material list that you're going to be needing. Right here, I have an 11 by 14 inch canvas. Now, it doesn't have to be a canvas. It could be canvas board, illustration board. And you're going to be needing minimum these 5 colors to get close to the colors that I have on the canvas. You're going to be needing titanium white. You're going to need 3 of the primary colors. Yellow. I have crimson here, but any type of red. And I have cerulean blue. Again, you can have any blue you want. Whatever blue you have is going to work. You might not get the same exact shades, but those are the colors you need. And you're going to be needing a raw umber or dark brown for this painting. You are also going to need some kind of board, paper plate to mix your colors on, a palette, if you will. And you're going to be needing minimum of 3 size brushes. Now, you should get a large brush. You should have a medium-sized brush, a little smaller, and if you want for finer details, a liner, they call this brush. Now, to give you an idea how wide these are, I could give you the numbers, but depending on the manufacturer, it might be a little different. But this is a number 12, or roughly, if I have it here, let's see if we can, about 1.25 inches in width. Then we have a number 4. That's roughly a little short of a 1/2 inch. Okay, I should say no. That's let's see, about 3/8 of an inch. And then you have a little bit smaller than that. You have maybe about 3/16 of an inch wide. And then you have the very fine brush, which is maybe about a 1/16 of an inch. Okay, so we have that settled. The next thing you should have is a drawing of this painting. You can make up your own, or you can copy something similar to what I have here. And what I like to do in my classes, I like to first do the drawing on paper and then transfer it over to my canvas. And what I use is old carbon paper. You attach that to the back of your drawing. Once you have your drawing established, put it on your canvas, do a few lines over your drawing, and it's transferred to your canvas. This is what I have here right now to speed things up. Okay, so we have that done, and soon we are going to start with this painting. Okay, students, we're ready to start painting. Make sure that you have your sketch transferred to your canvas or canvas board, or whatever material you're going to be using. And let's start with the basics first. So we got the sketch on there. I got my widest brush. It's about 1.25 inches. Doesn't have to be this big, but a large brush. And what I'm going to do is just apply some water on the canvas, gently now, not too much. We don't want a Niagara Falls going on here, okay? Just dampen your canvas. And what that's going to do is when we apply the paint, it'll make the paint flow a little bit easier. Now, the first two colors that I'm going to start with is the cerulean blue and the titanium white. Okay, and I'm going to apply a little bit of each to make my light blue background. All right, we'll start with that one. Okay, let's see if I can do this on canvas here. I mean on camera. Just a little bit. You notice how I'm applying the paint a little bit at a time. Okay, I think I have enough paint right now on my brush, and I'm going to apply it. Now, what Joe is doing here is real quick, just transferring, putting that paint all over. And you notice that I'm painting over my sketch. Now, it should not blur up on you, smudge up on you if you're using decent pencils. All right? Okay, so now, do I want it that light? Maybe, maybe not. This depends all on what you want to do. Okay? I'll add some darker ones here and there. Now, you'd also notice that the shed, and don't worry about put this blue all over. You're also going to be noticing that I'm almost using this paint like a watercolor. It's acrylic, you can go either way. And now I know that the shed is going to be a darker blue. So I'm going to put a little bit more blue in the shed. And this is done very loosely at first, okay? Don't be afraid to put that paint on there. We're going to cover it up with other paints, and sooner or later, we're going to come out, hopefully, with a beautiful painting that you like. Now, I want this water area actually a little bit lighter than what I have. I mean, it doesn't have to be water. It could be, you could paint it whatever color you like, but I have it as a little bit of a stream or a little bit of a pond, lake, I don't know, whatever it is back there. Okay, so we've done this part. The second color we're going to apply is the green. Most of this painting there's a lot of green here. So you can either have by green right out of the tube, or I like to mix my colors. So I have the blue and the yellow. I added yellow to my palette here. The blue and yellow is going to give me some kind of green. I didn't even wash my brush yet. The brush is still with the blue. And what I'll do is, and I just want to show you, take a little bit, little, not much. Okay. Okay, and I'll start mixing. Drag my blue. Now, it all depends on what color green you want. You want it darker, you put more blue. You want it lighter, you put some more yellow, and so forth. You want it a little bit lighter than that, you start putting some whites. I don't know if you can see the difference. Now, you're not going to make it exactly like I have here, but that doesn't really matter. It's a green, whatever green you like, okay? All right, so let's start mixing a little bit more color. I got dragging my blue in to make it a darker green. All right, and we're going to start applying it to the canvas. Here we go. Now remember, this is not going to be exactly like that either, okay? So here's and very loosely. Remember, we're going to go back and add details later on. Okay, so we have background here. This might be a little too, see, I noticed already it might be a little bit too dark of a green for my liking. So what am I going to do? I'm going to apply a little yellow to lighten it up. Okay, do you see the difference right away? Now, normally you do start with a darker color and then you apply the lighter highlights on top of that, okay? So you should go in technically with your darker color first. Okay, so we have a little more green here, and we have some darker green here, more here, and we can lighten this up after. And this is done very loosely also. Again, right over that fence. In fact, you can even put it on the trees, because we're going to paint over this again. Okay. All right. Here's the green. Do it very loosely. We got some kind of shrub here. It's okay. All right, and here we have a little bit of I guess a little sunlight coming through. Okay. Now if you can see that I'm starting to put a little bit of lighter color green. I know the trees are not going to be completely green, but since I have my light color on my brush, and some of these trees have some green in it, eventually we're going to put other colors on them, make them look more like trees. All right, and that's about it right now for the green value. And we'll be applying some more details, different colors. By the way, that green also is on the shed. Okay? Don't be afraid to plop those colors in there. Everything will come together shortly. Okay, our next step is we're going to start putting some of this warmer color, the reds. So I applied the red on my palette, and that's crimson, by the way. I mean, you can use any red you want. And the brown, which is a very dark brown, it's a burnt umber. Okay. No, excuse me, that's a raw umber. It's just a darker brown. Okay. The brush, I'm still using the same brush. I haven't really cleaned it up well yet. And what I did was I grabbed a little red, a little brown into that brush. And as you can see here, I'm starting to get this particular color here. Or some of that color. We're going to put this as a base, okay? Oh, by the way, before I forget, you can see it on my painting here. Remember when I said let's not get any Niagara Falls? I guess I didn't pay attention to myself. I put a little bit extra water, so I'm getting a drip here, which sometimes it works for you, sometimes it doesn't. But I just to show you, while it's still moist, wet, you can get that right off. You get yourself a clean brush, dip it in water, then absorb, kind of dry it up with a clean rag and go right on top. And it starts disappearing, okay? And you can kind of pick up any color I picked up some color already on the water, by the way. And there was too much green in that water, but we're going to put more blue over that anyway. So, but that's one way of, if you don't like the color that you put on, right away, get a clean brush, dip it in water, and kind of use it almost like a sponge. It absorbs the color. For example, right here, let's see. Okay. Here we go. All right, so we got that out of the way. So we're getting that reddish color, and here we go. Let's see what happens. I'm putting a little bit more red on my palette, and here we go. Let's put it on that roof. Start off with that roof. Again, don't be shy. Okay. On here. Okay, I got a little streak there. I want to put a little bit on this side of the roof, okay? And we have a vase of something here. What we're doing now is putting like a base. I'm going to put some of that red, if you call it red, on the trees. By the way, when you start painting, before you start painting, you should determine where the light source is coming from. In this particular painting, I have it from the left, upper left. You can make it any way you want, but you have to be consistent as to where those light colors are. In our case here, in my case, basically to the left is going to be lighter than to the right side of the trees, the shed, and so forth. Okay? We got me. I'm going to warm some of that red. Lighten it up with some yellow in here. You can see it down here. Okay. And we start putting different shades. All right. Okay. Now also on this, behind this fence is a little bit of a lighter green, but I think we're gonna have to wait for that one. I want to put a little bit more of this red throughout the shed, and again, very loosely. Notice that I'm laying one color on top of the other. That way, eventually, all these colors kind of combine together and give you a nice painting, a decent painting, I think. A quick way of painting, especially for the time that we have for the video. All right. And then naturally, you can always go back and add all the frills you want, okay, the shadows coming through. This part of the shed is definitely darker. I'm going to put a little bit more blue into that red. Get a little bit of the brown, make it a little bit darker. And let's see, underneath this, there you go. Underneath the flower pot or whatever that is there. Okay, but we're going to go back and put a little bit more. And a little bit here. And you definitely have some dark underneath. Okay, so we're going to be back with a little bit more details. The next color I'm going to introduce into the painting is a reddish, red violet, but on the grayish side. And to get that is we get the blue, a little bit of the red, some white, and actually some brown to have parts of it darker. That way you have different shades of this brown. And I started to apply it to the trees. Now, you can put this here, there, but remember, the fence has it. part of the shed, because we're going to apply a darker color on top of this after. And of course, the roof. Now, you want to get it lighter here and there. Put a little bit of the white into that. And you can even put a little bit of the yellow. Especially on top of the roof. And you also notice now that I've changed my brush to the medium-sized brush, okay? We could go back with the larger brush if we need to, but for right now, and let's see, what do we have? We have like a shovel here or something. I'm going to warm up. Well, I warmed it up a little bit too much. It's basically red there, but that's okay. We will go over that if we don't like it. Then there's a pitchfork or something back here. Do it very loosely now, okay? And I'm going to add these other colors onto the trees. Now, remember we did it with the green first. Now we're applying this red. Just here and there, apply some of the color, all right? And they're going to look like trees eventually. I can almost bet on that your trees are going to be nice looking trees. They're not all green, they're not all brown, they have plenty of color. Okay, that being said, we are going to go on to the next step. All right, now our next step, we're going to start defining the background foliage on the trees and the background. What I've done is I'm just going to highlight certain areas. You can highlight, and remember the light is coming from the left, right? I put some on the trees. Sun's coming this way. Just a dab. You don't have to go into deep detail. This is not a deep detail painting, right? We're here to relax and to do a decent painting we can call our own. And I know you're going to like the end result. I add this yellow. I have it here. I did the yellow, white, and some blue to darken it up here and there. Okay? So we got that going. Also, this yellow comes, by the way, I should have done this before, between the fence. It's a little darker there, but it's not all dark. Some parts are a little bit lighter. All right, so we're going to finish that off. And then we're going to go into some darker details of the green back here. I know normally I said you start with the darker color, and we did, but it's not dark enough for my liking anyway. So we're going to put a few places, we're going to make it a lot darker. Okay. The next color we're applying is the darker shades. I just started them here and there to show you roughly where they are, but you can see it on the original painting. But for time purposes, I'm just going to do a few darks here and there, and then I'll go on to the darker greens. Like I said before, normally we start with the darker color first and then add the light colors in, but you can actually work both ways. But I didn't think the original colors were that dark enough, so we're going to correct it, that's all. Now notice what I'm doing on the fence also. Remember that the light is coming from the left, trees on the left. Anything to the right of the trees, anything to the right of the shed is going to be a little bit darker. Now, how did I get that particular color? We got red, brown, red, a little brown. Grab a little bit of the blue, and you start getting, it's almost like a grayish purple. Now, it all depends on what you put. If you put more brown, you're going to get it darker. You want it on a warmer color, you put a little bit more red. You want it on a cooler color, you put more blue. It'll be a little bit cooler. And you'll get a variations of color. So experiment with that, okay? And we'll go soon to the greens. So we're going to start putting some of these darker greens. Now, I started the painting already just to show you, but how I got that green. You have the blue, the yellow, of course, that gives you your green. And then I added some brown and red to that mixture. Got it a little bit darker. All depends how much you want it warmer, you put more red. You want it cool, darker, you put more brown. And here and there, I added a little more yellow and a little white to get the color that I actually wanted. Now that's, when you start mixing, you're gonna have to decide how much of what color you're going to put in. So now I'm going to start just putting in some extra little details here and there. And remember, wherever you have light, if you put dark next to it, it's going to pop out, as you can see here. I want that tree to come out, to stand out a little bit. So I'm going to add a little dark to the side. This is a little dark already, and just want to keep it a little bit down there. Next to the tree again. Wherever you want something to stand out, you have to have that contrast of dark against light. That'll bring the color or the object out at you. Okay. And we could put some of this green all over again. Don't be shy. Be like moss or something on that shed. And don't worry about it. If you make a mistake, so what? There's always plenty of paint to add on to this, okay? Let's start adding some final highlights here and there, especially with the red, and actually it's a little pink here on me, but don't be shy with the colors, wherever. I started to put some highlights here and there with the reds, the light greens, and I mean we could go on and on and on with this painting. It all depends how much time you want to spend on it, and you definitely can go with much more details. But here we go with a few. I want to warm up some of these trees. Now you notice that I'm very loose with my colors. I'm not too hesitant to put almost any color down, and the more color you use, the more your painting is going to come alive. All right, I'm warming some of these grays up with a little warm color. I've added some flowers to the side. Now remember, the flowers on closer to where the light is coming from should be a little bit lighter, and what's in the back that's in more shadow should be a little darker. Okay, got that understood? And I hope you have enjoyed this class. Please join me again in the near future for more painting classes. This happens to be the first one that I've done. I usually do these classes in classroom, but with all of this going around, we've done a few classes on YouTube and a video. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and please make sure you mark it as that that you like it, and of course subscribe. Now I'm gonna have to add a few more details here before I say goodbye. So I forgot all about this air hole here on this shed, and the hinges. Again, do them very loosely. No one is going to come around to tell you that those hinges or that window is not proportioned, it's not straight. Okay, remember, the looser you are, the more color you use, a lot better your painting is going to be. So this is Joe Socci, your instructor, and hopefully you will take one of my classes again. And remember to like and subscribe at YouTube, where you'll see me around more often. Have a good day and happy painting. Bye-bye. Okay, as usual, there's always something else to add on to these videos when you go back. And I did forget to mention that I'm going to be using a fine brush to do some of these fine lines or details around this fence and the hinges on the door. But other than that, I'm going to say goodbye now and hope that you take this class again. And remember to like and subscribe. And hopefully you do that. Otherwise, you're going to get someone with a paintbrush coming over and giving you a mustache. Talk to you soon. Bye.